We have begun.
We're
All right,
recording.
brother. Welcome to the Skin Deep podcast. We've been talking about this for months. This is episode 1, guest 1. I'm Wes,
Very cool.
Tattoos by Wes. Hopefully that's why you're watching or you stumbled across it. We've got Nate Riggs. So a little brief background. Nate and I loosely met years ago in the Columbus, Ohio triathlon scene.
Yeah.
That was ages ago. I mean, we're talking, 10, 12 years ago is probably when we were.
10, 12 years ago. I remember one time, though, I came over to your house for a bike fitting and got all the way over there. And then you were like, dude, did you bring your bike? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that would help.
Oh, shit, dude. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot my fucking bike, which didn't work.
That's hilarious. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be the only one. I do bike fits at Ohio Health, and I've had people drive, like formally at their sports performance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, so you need help getting the bike in? And they're like, oh, I thought you had the bike. I'm like, no, I don't.
No.
So
Yeah.
no, it's
kind of want to be fit on your bike,
Yeah. So we ended up putting in the list of things to bring, because I've also had people like not bring their riding clothes. They didn't know they were going to be on the bike. Like, it's just, you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Yeah.
So then I'm guessing once I got back into tattooing, you just saw me posting stuff on Facebook. Like,
yeah, I saw an update on Facebook saying that you were getting back into tattooing. And at the time, I had wanted to get a St. Michael tattoo, like on my forearm. And so that was when I reached out. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'd love to get on your schedule.
Right.
So,
and that was, what did we say, 3.5 years ago? Something like that.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
It was right when I got back into tattooing, which I guess we should explain that. So I owned and tattooed with Body Language over in Whitehall from 97 till about 2018. 2014 to 2018 was not a lot of tattooing because I'd opened up a triathlon store. But then in 2018, I opened up a gym, self-made training facility in Hilliard, and actually had retired from tattooing to run the gym full time, and had sold it to Joey Knuckles. And then a little thing called COVID happened, and with the gym being closed, I got back into tattooing, which was a blessing because I missed it, and got back into tattooing January of 21. So yeah, it was probably shortly after that you reached out. We did the forearm piece, and at that point you had how many tattoos? Just a few, right?
Yeah, I had this one. It needed redone. This was one of the first I got way back in college. I've got a back piece, and I had one on my foot, and all of them were a mess, right? Just 20 years of age, a lot of suntans. They were looking bad.
Yep. And then, so we do the forearm piece, and then wham, bam. Next thing you know, we're doing humongous tattoos on your legs. We're reworking the arm, but then even more importantly is we rallied up a sleeve in a year, 2 years probably.
Yeah.
So you went from normal amount of tattoos, 3, to heavily covered in the last 3 years. Was that the plan?
Yeah, here's the sleeve. Yeah, so I had always, and we'll show more of this, but it's pretty detailed. I had always been fascinated with tattoos, and the plan was always to become a roadmap. Basically, I was really into I just like the art of it. But then you have kids, and this little thing called money disappears from your life and time. And then you do young in your career, and it's the corporate thing, and I was running my own business. And so you're like, yeah, do I really want to go into meetings with this? And then you hit like your 40s and you're like, I do not give a fuck. And so I decided, once I got that first tattoo, I liked it so much, like the St. Michael right here. I liked it so much. I'm like, let's do the rest of it. And now I'm on a path to hopefully become like I said, a walking piece of art. start within the next couple years.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's one of the coolest things with, I mean, so obviously tattooing in 97, it wasn't nearly as mainstream. And then we hit the, 06 or 07, whenever Miami Ink came out.
Yeah.
And then tattooing started to explode. But there was still some version of a stigma around it. It was a slow roll to now, which now is outside of kids draining the well. Any other concern outside of the financial is pretty much out the door. I mean, It's crazy. You mix the popularity of tattoos with all this remote working, where it really doesn't matter what you look like in almost every profession. Plus the fact that, geez, at this point, if you don't have a tattoo, now you're the rebel.
Right. Right.
That, yeah, you can just get tattooed anywhere, anytime on your body, and it's complete. It's not going to, more than likely, it's not going to affect your ability to generate income.
Well, and it's fascinating. So like I were to swim meet yesterday. My kid's a swimmer, or this weekend, Friday and Saturday. And, it's a nice day out. People are out in short sleeves, shorts and whatever. And just the amount of large pieces on swimmer parents, right? Like these kids who are, like just people that you normally wouldn't see tattoos, like full leg sleeves, full sleeves, big, you can see back pieces on people, like if girls are wearing tank tops and whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely become, I don't know if it was the pandemic that did it. Everybody got cooped up and said, let's go for it, or what?
That might be it, because the industry saw this massive boom for like 2.5 years, starting with the pandemic, because they had a little bit of money from the government in their pockets.
Yeah.
Student loans were put on hold for, 3.5 years. So there's a few $100 extra a month. And there wasn't a lot of things you could do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hadn't even thought that what we're seeing visually could be the pandemic boom of tattooing. And also, I think, kind of going back to what you were saying about you just don't give a fuck. I think that also the pandemic was, people were like, I need to do something for me, and I don't give a fuck. Like, I want to be heavily covered in tattoos. They look cool. They make me feel good inside my own body. So yeah, you're probably dead on that.
Well, the rise of remote work too, like suddenly you didn't have to go into the office anymore. There wasn't that pressure of the white collar, type of thing that was going on. It'll be interesting now, that trend's starting to change too. Now people are kind of going back to hybrid, kind of going back to the office more often. And yet now everybody's covered in tattoos. So like, there's part of it too, that if you see it out there and it's out there on everybody, it's kind of a Me Too type thing. Suddenly it's normalized. You're like, yeah, that's cool. Everybody looks great. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's super cool. So with that, then, obviously you got covered quickly.
Yeah.
What did the wife think? Obviously she's pro on it, but she's looking at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
All of a sudden, in the course of 2 years, the Nate Riggs she's been with for over a decade is like, does she ever say like, wow, like it still blows my mind. You have a fucking full sleeve and half a leg sleeve.
I mean, she actually likes the sleeve a lot. She really likes that one a lot. I think she likes the chest piece from Marty that we'll talk about a little bit, but I think it was a little bit of a shell shock. Like the kids, the way I phrased it up is, hey, as a midlife crisis, it's cheaper than buying a Porsche, or something like that. Like there are worse things that you could be doing midlife. But I think she also knows, like, it's always been like, I am literally one of those guys. If you come down to my office, I put stickers on everything, right? Like I've always been a sticker person, right? Like give me stickers and I put it shit on everywhere. So why would I put stickers on my body?
Right.
So like, I think she kind of like gets it, but she's used to it now. Like she doesn't have any tattoos. I got her a tattoo gift card like years ago that I don't think she ever used. So the kids, like I've got one kid that's super like artistic, so he's always like, oh, what do you got now? And he likes seeing it. The other ones are like, meh, whatever, dad's weird,
right on. So how many of so is it just the one kid that does he want to get tattoos once he turns 18?
So both of my kids for Christmas got Westbucks for
Yep.
Christmas. Got some Westbucks, and as soon as they turn 18, so Caden's definitely thinking about like what he wants to get. It'll probably be something related to music. Jacob will probably get something related to a saint or something like that. And we'll see. Like once their younger brother gets old enough, we'll see what if that's his thing or not. But they're definitely both interested in it.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool. What about, so you deal with, like, you have clients that you deal with,
yeah,
not fellow people in the office.
yeah.
And even if it's online, because you've got the sleeve all the way down to the knuckles, any of the old time clients like just talking to you on Zoom, like, whoa, 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 pick that
Yeah,
coffee back up. Is your hand tattooed, or did anybody
so
make
when I
comments?
when I got the hand jammer, that was a little bit like people saw it and were like, "Really, you're doing that?" And I'm like, fully committed, you know. But not really. No, honestly, like, and I'll be honest, like with some of my standing clients, if it's hot, I'm this is a conference call for me sometimes.
Right on.
So like I think they just realize that it's what I'm into. I mean, at the end of the day, if I am not the right consultant for you, I do internet marketing and work with CRMs and whatnot. So most of my stuff is virtual. I don't really travel around a lot anymore. And I do things like I'm launching a podcast called the Music Festivals Podcast. This is a festival I went to recently. For stuff like that, it doesn't really matter if I have tattoos, right? Like, and if it's one of those things that if it's a turnoff, like if you don't want to work with me because of ink that I've put on my body as self-expression, I'm probably not your guy, right? Like, and that's
Right.
okay. That's totally okay. Like, no hard feelings, right? So,
Yeah, you can't please everybody at the same time. But I was just wondering if any of your longtime clients all of a sudden were like, "Holy shit, dude!"
yeah, some of them actually like it's become kind of a thing. Like, oh, what'd you get this week?
Right, right.
So now it's actually it's interesting because I don't know, like I haven't had pushback, and I feel like I'm being more authentically me.
Yeah.
So like this is a part of how I like to express myself. So you know,
Well, and that's probably a plus. People want authentic.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that appeals to people in every variety. No, that's super cool. Um, so yeah, kind of speaking about then your music festival podcast. Obviously, a bunch of your tattoos are music related. I'm going to pull a couple up here on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
screen. And so, um, hey, I was so pumped to do kind of this little bit of a twist on the on the classic Sacred Heart tattoo. But
Yeah.
then, what's the other tattoo we're looking at here?
So the band that got me into music festivals, my very first music festival was Acoustic Hookah's Hookahville, and that was way back in the spring of 2000. And so their band symbol has always been the schwa. Why it's the schwa, I have no idea. I'm sure there's a story there somewhere. But that art was actually taken from one of their more recent albums. I forget the damn name of it now. But I just really liked the way that it was rendered and whatnot. So the leg part, the leg sleeve has really been, I'd like to take elements of festival posters of different bands that I like, of different, artwork, and kind of mix it in and make a full color blended in sleeve with a lot of different elements, right? So there's a couple Billy Strings tattoos we've done on there so far. Still trying to figure out what's going to go on the hamstring. That's putting in the Billy String tattoo on, which was something you came up with, which was kind of a mix of, I think I sent you like a stained glass piece, and then you found like some album artwork.
Yep.
The 33 is that 33 is actually a replica of the 33 that Billy has on his wrist, which is in a lot of his stuff and related to his grandfather and a guitar he built and his racing number and things like that. So like all of the sleeves. What's interesting is that it was hot and heavy at first, and now I'm kind of like slowing down because I really want to make sure I'm finding the right poster art. Like if it doesn't carry like a significant memory or meaning or band or song or lyric, you only have so much space to deal with, right?
Yep.
Like, so you got to kind of start to get picky and choosy. I think that was the one thing, like when you first start, it's like, oh, I got plenty of room, right? And
Yep.
now it's like, shit, I'm running out of space. I gotta be choosy. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, that was cool. But that's the idea with the music festival thing, is it's a roadmap of documenting my music festivals experiences.
Yeah. No, I've had a blast, and unfortunately, we don't have, because they weren't completely healed. and or completed. We've got two other pieces that
Yeah.
we did on Nate from poster art that were super cool.
Yeah.
That you'll be able to see on my website and on my Instagram account. And then, of course, we've got the 20-year-old Sun and Moon that we redid at Hell City Tattoo Fest in 23, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was just one of those, like, like I didn't, there's some significant meaning to the tattoo, so I didn't necessarily want to cover it up, but it was just looking awful. It was looking bad. I think it was one of those too where, so originally it was put on up in Westerville when I was in college. Thrill Vulture, Naomi did a nice job with it, but I was that typical college kid wanting like a $700 tattoo for the price of like 250.
Right.
So like, I wanted something big and bright, but then I also worked as a lifeguard for like a number of years. So I'm outside in the sun all summer long. And I wish I could say I was religious about sunscreen, but I was not. And so that definitely, like, now I am. Now I put sunscreen on all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Protect that investment, right?
Exactly. Well, that, and I mean, we have seen inks, machines, needles, everything has improved, including just the more years you're in. I mean, that was Naomi's skill 20 some years ago. She's a really good tattooer. I mean, that thing held up pretty darn well for 20 years, and notoriously huge fields of yellows and orange. It's just going to fade. I mean, even the blues faded a little bit, but I mean, everything I did 23 years ago probably looks that exact same way. So yeah. Just a nice little facelift. But that was fun. So obviously you've gotten tattooed predominantly by me the last few years, but recently you had Nate Marty do a chess piece that is absolutely fucking amazing.
Yeah. So here's the Nathan Marty tiger piece that I absolutely love. It was so I grew up in a town called Massillon, Ohio. Shout out to the folks in Massillon. They actually just won the state football championship last year for the first time in a long time. And that was fun to watch. We watched the game on TV, on online and whatnot. But I had always wanted to get a tiger tattoo. You grew up in Massillon, that's just something that the guys get, is a tiger tattoo. And my mom would never let me. So I sat on it for a number of years, but I knew I wanted to do something photorealism. And that was not kind of like, I think that's probably not one of your things.
It's the one thing that I just do not do, but you picked a complete baller.
Yeah,
Marty's that thing out.
Marty, it's interesting watching that technique done, because it's so different where, like, if you're watching him do it, you can't tell what it's going to be. It's almost like a paint by numbers type of, like, the way he moved across it. It was like I couldn't tell what it was going to be until it was done.
Right.
Because it's just kind of moving around and working in one direction and filling in little gaps. So like, it was it's a different experience. That was about a 7.5 hour sit, which is the longest that I've sat. And that was the last hour and a half was a little rough. A little bit rough.
That's a monster session on the chest too. And going back to where you said, like, you don't know what it's going to look like. That was when I watch people do realism. I used to think back in the day that was like the upper echelon of artistic ability. But now when I see the theory behind it, it's very mathematical.
Yeah.
They're literally working, lots of the tattooers who do it really well are working in just a small confined area and just systematically replicate that like 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch area and move on. And then go over once it's complete with kind of tying stuff in. But it's a very systematic and mathematical kind of application, which is mind blowing, because then the result is something insanely artistic.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, like you and I will chat. Like, I come in, we're doing like a color piece or something. We're chatting the whole time while we're doing it. Like, you get into some line work, you'll get real quiet for a couple minutes. Doing what he was doing, like, I figured out, like, within the first hour, I'm like, oh, he's really got to pay attention. It's like,
Right.
don't talk to the guy right now. Just let him like focus on that little tiny area. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting experience, but it is interesting going to different shops too, like different tattooers, different shops, different vibe. Like it's I think that's one of the things I like about it a lot, you know.
Oh, being a collector is super fun. And like you said, the vibe, every shop offers a different vibe. And especially now that tattooing's blown up, we really, um, lots of these places are, you know, like a salon or
Yeah.
a chill, like yoga studio type of vibe, like to your classic, more like street shop. You got AC/DC playing,
Yeah.
everything in between. And then I think for collectors, the boom in tattooing, and in particular, I can't speak for other cities. I would imagine it's similar, but Columbus, man, the well is so deep with so many awesome
Oh yeah.
tattooers. Like if you can't, you, it should be impossible for a collector to not be able to find a tattooer in Columbus, Ohio, who is a complete assassin at the style that they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's nuts on how many good tattooers are out there.
Yeah, and it seems like there's every time you drive around, there's like another shop. I spot them like I didn't even know that was there. You know, like shops popping up all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, so many people who are kicking ass. So what's on the docket for more tattoos? Any other new tattoo artists or
So there's a guy, and I forget. There's a guy that I've been following on Instagram in Italy that does the negative. I don't know what the style is, but they lay down black first, and then they do like whites and blues and grays and stuff on top of the black.
okay?
And that style just fascinates me. But you know, you got to go all the way to Italy to get the guy to, you know,
Oh
do a
darn.
tattoo or something. Yeah. But that's definitely like that style is something. One of the ones I've wanted to get at some point, and it's probably on a leg, is I'd like to get some type of a trail scene, like a scene of a trail running up a mountain with pine trees and a
Oh,
sun
cool.
and everything and whatnot. Um, let's see what else. Eventually, I've got a lot of real estate on the back. I've got a back piece that was done years ago that's a mess. It faded out real bad because that was definitely an area that I couldn't put sunscreen on very easily.
Right.
So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on docket. It's just a matter of figuring out like the poster art. I definitely like, I'm waiting till the right posters come out, right? Like to look for that one element. It's a monster theme. I recently was at Dark Star Jubilee, which is where this hat's from, and then at Hookahville the following weekend. And they had a group touring with Jerry Garcia's guitars. So they had Alligator and one of his acoustic guitars. And I thought about maybe doing the alligator sticker, having you do it because the alligator, so the guitar, he just put an alligator sticker on there and then
Right.
named the guitar Alligator, right? I thought about having you actually do the sticker, like an
Oh,
actual
cool.
sticker
Yeah,
tattoo
yeah,
of the
yeah.
alligator sticker, which would be kind of freaking cool. So that might have to. I'll send you some art. Maybe that'll work out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of music fests, what's coming up? It is music fest season, and I'm
Yes.
assuming you're probably loading up on them if you're launching a music festival podcast.
Yeah, the hope is to get the podcast, the first episodes out by the end of this month. I already interviewed a guy named Todd Mayo at Cave Fest. That's going to be one that I'm going to head to again this fall. I've been there for 2 years. Cave Fest is down in Pelham, Tennessee. Half the shows are actually in a cave, like down in the cave stage, which is super cool. Heading to Billy String's Renewal, which is out in Buena Vista in the fall. So I'm going to do some video production out there. But the whole idea with the podcast is going on site as much as possible, capturing video production, interviews. I've got some ideas for like a festival confessional booth that I'm going to build out.
Oh, dude, sweet.
Yeah, like set it up at the camp and like entice people to come in and just leave their story, like NPR. What the hell they call that, Story Forge or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Actually stealing your idea. I'm going to wrap my truck. Like I want to actually take my truck and wrap it with Music Festival's podcast graphics and like be the QR code magnet. So there, I'm stealing marketing ideas from you. But yeah, it's exciting. So I'm doing that one. I'm going to go up to Nelsonville or not Nelsonville, maybe Nelsonville Music or music festival. Nelson Ledges Quarry Park has a couple festivals up there. Won't make Lost Lands this year. I think next year will be the big festivals year. So Bonnaroo, Lost Lands, Electric Forest. Maybe throw a little bit more focus on EDM next year. This year's very much Americana, folk, bluegrass, jam bands type stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Like I've been doing all this shit for clients for a long time. So it's nice to get back to like take all the stuff I've learned over the years and do it for myself, right? Like do something that I'm interested in. I think there's an audience for it. We'll see. So
oh, dude, there's those things fill up, like, so there's got to be an audience, which, by the way, you've got me totally hooked on Billy Strings.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I love following that dude on Instagram, man. That guy's fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's their recent tour. I'm excited to go to Renewal. It's 2 days festival out in California. It's his festival, so they bring out all the stops. You know, they're gonna play the shit out of it. But he did his last tour. It's funny because I listen to all these other music podcasts, especially with bluegrass artists, you know, jam bands. And at some point during the podcast, they are going to talk about Billy Strings and the phenomenon that he is and what he's doing for bluegrass. And I don't even know if it's bluegrass because it's somewhere in between metal and bluegrass and now like dance house techno type shit. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Billy Strings, he's coming to the Buckeyes Country Superfest. He'll be playing with Zach Bryan there. I did not get tickets to that one, but you can still get tickets. They're a little bit pricey. But yeah, if you're in Columbus and you want to see Billy, go check him out because it's a hell of a show all around.
Dude. So, yeah, oh yeah, man, I gotta see him live. Looking forward to it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
well, cool, brother. I appreciate you being guest number one.
Yeah, dude, this was fun. This was a fun conversation. Keep doing the good work, man. I appreciate all the ink you've put on my body. It's a lot of my favorite stuff. So
cool. Well, I love it, man. I mean, especially you've pushed me to different edges of my styles with the full black and gray sleeve. Like we've talked, rendering poster art, like at face value, you're like, oh, cool. It's just 5 colors. And then when you start to have to tattoo it, I'm like, scratching my head, like, how are we gonna make this thing look cool? So yeah, I appreciate
the unique gopher for the show notes. I'll send you a finished picture of the healed up gopher for the show notes because that one's a badass tattoo.
I wish we had a picture for that. So. Well, awesome, brother. You have a great day. Much success to the podcast, and enjoy all those music festivals. And I think I'm going to see you here in a couple weeks, anyways, for a tattoo appointment. So we can catch up on that shit.
Awesome,
cool, brother.
Thank you, man.
Later.